Representing the bongo cats for Meow Mix. Meow, 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 man, meow, 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 meow. Only Meow Mix has the 3 flavors cats love best: tuna, liver, and chicken. And tastes so good, cats ask for it by name. Meow, 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 man, meow, 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 meow. Meow.
I'm a scat cat, the Meow Mix.
Meow, 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 meow,
You know, only Meow Mix has the 3 flavors cats dig the most: tuna, liver, and chicken.
Hey everybody, I'm Shelly Palmer. Welcome to Shelly Palmer Live, formerly Web3 Wednesday. We are so happy to have you here, middle of New York City. What a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous day it is today. And for those of you who were here last week, there's no root canal going on. There's no crazy person outside with a jackhammer. So that's, awesome for today. Welcome everyone. What are we going to cover today? So much to cover. Let's see. We're going to start with Mr. Altman going to Washington. We're going to talk a little bit about Sam Altman. We're going to talk about the EU's new AI Act, or proposed AI Act. We're going to go back over moats and why there aren't any. We're going to talk a little bit about our courses. We're going to look at Claude, the 100,000 breakthrough, 100,000 context window, token context window model. Really, really a big deal. I'm going to demo PrivateGPT today, which is going to be super fun. Then we're going to demo Bard versus ChatGPT, and we're going to see what Google has to do with ChatGPT and how they stack up against one another. And we'll cover some other interesting stuff as well. While you're here, welcome everybody. You can, for example, talk to each other, as I see the chats lighting up already. So please, please ask me any questions in chat. I'd love you to introduce yourself, say hi. Of course, you should tell each other not only what you do, but where you are. I'd love to know where you are in the world. Welcome Steve Bradbury from Marina Del Rey. Go Orange, thank you. Frank Quinn, welcome. Justin, welcome from Kansas. Glad you're here. And of course, if you have any questions, please put them in chat, because I'm happy to answer whatever questions I can. This, like I said, is going to be a pretty busy day today. We just got a lot of stuff going on. So let's just jump right in. Oh yeah, and please tweet something, for goodness sake. To tweet, and that whole like thing, and the what they say, smash the like button and subscribe. Do that whole subscribe and take a screenshot, do something fun. Oh, and also before we get started, well, no, let's just get started. We're going to jump right in here. Hey there, Tam from Brooklyn. That's fantastic. And David Goldsmith, glad you're here. Okay, Sam Altman was in Washington yesterday, and basically what he did was he was hauled in front of Congress, and the goal was to find out if there is some regulation that he recommends. And he put on a good show. He talked about needing regulation. It was reminiscent of every CEO ever brought before Congress. The people in Congress talked a lot, and he talked a little. Let's see if I can just find some stuff here that really mattered. No, I can't. What ultimately was decided was nothing. Everybody agrees there must be some kind of regulation. I'm about to show you today why that's, no matter what happens, it's not going to matter. I don't care how they regulate this. This is going to be the same kind of problem that regulating the internet has been, and we're going to go deep into that in a little bit. Speaking of things you can go deep into, you can, of course, get today's POAP, Proof of Attendance Protocol token. This is May 17th, so you get the May 17th POAP. What is a POAP? It is a Proof of Attendance Protocol token. Collect 5 of them, and you can come to any one of our super secret handshake salons. We have physical dinners, we have breakfasts, we also have online events. Collect 5 POAPs, and you'll be on the mailing list for the fun stuff that we do. All right, Sam went to Washington, and he talked to senators, and he talked to congressmen, and he talked to people that are supposed to make our laws, and it was pretty clear that everyone's very concerned. they're not concerned about necessarily the right things, although some of them are, which was interesting. In Europe, where we innovate in the United States and they regulate, so they've already created an act which is just in shorthand called the European AI Act. It's a risk-based legislation going from what they would deem to be acceptable risk all the way up to unacceptable risk. And they define that in a document that's pretty interesting. The full act is laying down harmonized rules on artificial intelligence, the Artificial Intelligence Act, and amending certain union legislative acts. That's what they're calling this thing, but ultimately you can just probably shorthand it as the European AI Act. And it's happening right now. They are very serious about this very serious about this legislation. I'm going to read a little bit. Proposed legislation sets out, let's see, what does it set out to do? Ensure that AI systems placed on the union market and are used safely and respect existing laws on fundamental rights. I don't know what that means. And fundamental rights and union values. I assume they know what fundamental rights and union values are, but I don't know that I do. Ensure legal certainty to facilitate investment and innovation in AI. That seems nonsense because I don't think Europe has invested in any innovation as far back as I can remember. They just like to find big tech and regulate as best they can. Enhance governance and effective enforcement of existing law on fundamental rights and safety requirements applicable to AI systems. They don't really define those, and that scares me. Facilitate the development of a single market for lawful, safe, and trustworthy AI applications and prevent market fragmentation. I hate that in everything about it. We need legislation of some kind. We need guidelines. We need protocols. We need ethics. In the Old West, stealing a horse was like one of the highest crimes you could commit because everyone needed their horse. We're going to need AI legislation. We just are. But as I am going to show you today, and I'm going to show you in pretty vivid detail, it's not going to be regulatable in the way they've just described. So last week we talked about a letter that had come out, an article that had come out that said we have no moat, and it was supposed to be from a Google employee who was saying that neither Google nor OpenAI have any hope of defending against the open source models. And that was really interesting to hear that we don't know if that was really a Google employee. We don't really know the provenance of that particular document that I showed off last week. And I went through it in great detail, so I won't do it again. But the overarching thesis of that very long writing, which is just called We Have No Moat, you can Google it, was that they believe that there's nothing that's really defensible if you're Google or OpenAI. And I think that's probably not an unreasonable thing to say. The timeline on this has been insane. A few weeks ago, if you remember, I think it was March 20th, I was able to install a leaked version of Llama, which is Meta's model, Meta formerly known as Facebook, on my gaming computer. And then within a couple days, we had it running on a MacBook Pro, which was CPU based, not GPU based. That's kind of a big deal. I don't know that this is a defensible proposition, and in a minute I'm going to show you why with PrivateGPT. If you need a little bit of a primer to get into this, I think we talk about this all the time. You can go to courses.shellypalmer.com completely for free with no ads and no ask of any kind. Just there for you is a course we call Generative AI for Executives. We just added a couple new sections. We're going to be adding another section tonight about PrivateGPT and open source models and how to install them and what they may mean. They're still clunky, but the trend is clear and the obvious future is very clear. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this, it's totally for free. It takes, I think, maybe 2-3 hours to go through the course. It's 20 sections. It'll be 21 sections tomorrow as we add in a little bit about installing your own large language model on your local computer. But please feel free to avail yourself of this. It's pretty good stuff. Now, Claude, which is another large language model, it is a direct competitor of OpenAI's GPT-4. It's a direct competitor of Llama. It's a direct competitor of the models they're using, Lambda, and the models they're using, and Palm, the models they're using behind Bard. Claude's pretty good. There's a wait list. You can go to anthropic.com/product and either get on the wait list, or if you're there, get there. There is a limitation to GPT-4 and some of the other large language models. They only can take a certain amount of data into their context window. And I think you may have experienced this if you have ChatGPT. If you try to put a very large document into ChatGPT, it's just not going to happen. It's going to go tilt, and it's not going to allow you to do it. So there is a limit to what you can do, because you are limited by how much data you can put into the context window in order to set up a prompt. It is also limited, even with the API, to roughly 9,000 tokens. A token, depending on who you ask and depending on the complexity of the document and how big the words are, is roughly 4 words in the English language is about a token. So you've been limited to what you can, well, I should say it differently. You're limited to what the generative AI can reference or remember while you're using it, based on the number of tokens that it can use as context. Well, what happened with Claude, or Anthropic's product Claude, the other day, that was about a week ago now, they expanded the context window to 100,000 tokens. And they demonstrated that in a really interesting way. They demonstrated it by taking the entire book of The Great Gatsby, which is roughly 75,000 words, and they put it into the context window. And then they asked it to spot, they asked it to spot the difference. They changed one word apparently in the 75,000 words, and it took under 22 seconds for Claude to find the error, and surface it. So pretty impressive. Now, Google's got an investment in Anthropic, and it's a kind of incestuous business. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see what you do with a context window of that size. You could, for example, take all the documentation to any piece of software that you might like. You look at Tailwind CSS or Next.js or Python, it doesn't matter. You take all the documentation and put it in, and then be able to have your version of an LLM just sort through your stuff as it's contextually doing what it does. This is unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. So we're seeing an awful lot of interesting new things coming out about as fast as I've ever seen interesting new things come out. We're going to take 1 second, if you'll indulge me. If you're interested in new things, and as they come out, we are about to launch this season's Newhouse Advanced Media Lab series. So if you're interested in participating in discussions with experts from academia and corporate and government about some of the biggest problems of our day, the alignment problem that we've spoken about previously, social media bias and addiction, AI regulation, all of the things that go AI bias. We're going to be talking about those in detail at the Newhouse Advanced Media Lab series event. So if you're interested, you just go to shellypalmer.com/Newhouse and you can sign up. All right, as promised. So github.com/imartinez/PrivateGPT. That's the URL for the Git repository with PrivateGPT in it. Now, what is it? The best way to describe PrivateGPT is you can install a language model that, and there's a couple different language models that they have optional, but I think you could pretty much install any open source language model you want. You train it on your own data locally, and then you can query it as if it were ChatGPT, but you don't actually need internet access. Everything will run locally. Now, this sounds amazing. Here's the disclaimer, and it's important. It is a test project, and the idea was to figure out if it's even feasible to do question answering like you might do with ChatGPT, and to do vector embeddings on your local machine in some meaningful way. This is not a production-ready tool. I can promise you that. It runs slow as molasses. I can't even show it to you live on this machine because I'm using it to stream, but I am going to show you output. And what's important is that they optimize this for privacy, so it all runs locally. You don't even need internet access. So without kind of further ado, let me go to what I did, just so you can see it. I took the output of my terminal and I put it here. So I just, as you can see, it was just a quick Python script, run PrivateGPT, which I did, and then it ran the model relatively quickly. And I had trained this on 2 pieces of data. Back in the day, as everyone here I think knows, I'm a composer-producer by trade. So I wrote a piece for the Central Synagogue, debut of the Central Synagogue organ, which I helped design, called Tefillat Gavriel, which is a Hebrew for Gabriel's Prayer. And I had David Higgs, a super famous organist from the Eastman School of Music, come in and play the inaugural concert on this brand new $3 million instrument. So there's a blog post, actually not by me, by a wonderful man, a musicologist and spectacular patron of the arts, Alan Wagner, may he rest in peace. And he wrote this article. And then there's another article about the organ that we designed and had built by Casavant Ferrer. So this magnificent organ, I mean, really, really sweet. For $3 million it ought to be. And it's installed at Central Synagogue in New York. What's important about this, and why I'm showing this to you, is that for the organ design, we wanted to make the organ very special. And the way we made the organ and this is just the document that I created, I actually copied and pasted this into a Word doc, and I used it as training material for PrivateGPT. So just so you understand, I created 2 stops for the organ. A stop is the thing you actually pull out to change the sound that the organ makes. For the Central Synagogue organ, I created a shofar trumpet and a klezmer clarinet stop. It's the only organ in the world that has those. And it was in a synagogue, so that'll be interesting. Now, this is articulated in those 2 blog posts from shellypalmer.com. I took them, I put them into the source material directories of PrivateGPT. And now I asked it just for a question. I said, is there a special stop on the central organ? And it took quite a few minutes, about 4 minutes, to come back, and it said yes, the organ contains 2 special stops, a trumpet, shofar, and a klezmer clarinet, spelled in the sort of Casavant Ferrer organ-y way. So then I asked it another question. Well, I should say, here's what this is what the test gives you back. It gives you back the question, right? Then it gives you back its answer, just so you know. And now it looks and tells you where it got the information from. So here it's pulling the specific paragraph that it referenced to get the information. So you can see inside the document, the Gabe Wiener Memorial Organ at Central Synagogue doc. This is the document from that I told you I made into a Word doc. And here's the paragraph that it took it from. The original organ contains 2 very special stops created specifically for Central Synagogue, a trumpet shofar that replicates the sound of the traditional shofar used in services of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, blah, blah, blah. So it found the paragraph, which is cool. And then it had another source document that it looked at, and I told you I had a second source document. This was the one that was the Gabe M. Wiener Memorial blog post, which I also made into a Word doc. And it says, constructed by the renowned firm Casavant Ferrer. This is the other paragraph that it took from the other document. So, it took a little bit from this source document there, and it dropped its, it just tells you where it did its work. And so it actually documents in test mode what it did, how it did it. So then I asked it another question, who created the special stops and what makes them special? And it gave the answer. The organ contains 2 special stops. It repeated. It's, again, this is optimized for privacy. It's not optimized for accuracy, although it's pretty accurate. The organ contains 2 special stops, the trumpet and the clarinet. It tells you what it is. And ultimately, it says composer Shelly Palmer sampled and modeled the acoustic instruments to aid the organ builders in crafting the unique stops, both through using the accompaniment of contemporary anthem and liturgical music. I don't know where it got this from. That is totally made up. Maybe because in my bio in the Alan Wagner piece, it talks about anthem, which, by the way, oddly enough, this was the 25th. Last week was the 25th anniversary of that modern dance that I wrote. But that may be this. So this is nonsense. But this is not. It is used for liturgical music. Now, I didn't ask it for this, but this is all true. The instrument also contains a rich array of other reed registers, including trombone fait, which is it does. That can sound out over the entire organ, and a 32-foot contrabass bar. That's all true. Like, this is 100% right. So I was super impressed that I was able to quickly train this model on my own material. It's running 100% locally. Now, what's it really running? So this was done with LangChain, which is a Python framework for talking to large language models. That's probably the most popular of the frameworks right now. They used GPT for All, which basically is a free-to-use, guaranteed to run locally, privacy-aware chatbot. So that kind of already existed. So some of this was leveraged on definitely leveraged on pre-existing work. Llama CPP, Llama CPP, I always get that wrong, basically runs Llama on a MacBook. I'm running this on Windows, so that wasn't important, but this particular PrivateGPT, if you go to that Git repo, let's see if I can put the repo back up. If you go to this Git repo, this will run on a MacBook. It'll run on any Mac, actually, because it's optimized to run on a Mac. Then the database they used for embedding was Chroma, which is specifically built to do that. And then they used a thing called Sentence Transformers, which is another Python framework, which I've just started playing with. And it does text and image embedding. So if you're trying to embed private data into a database, Sentence Transformers is a fun thing to work with. And I would definitely recommend going deep into this. LangChain, don't know how much longer it's going to be meaningful. It's pretty meaningful right now as a Python framework. GPT for All, also super fun to play with. These are all fun to play with. This person, I Martinez, they put it all together and gave us PrivateGPT. This is a proof of concept. It's a proof of concept. It says that I can run a large language model like Llama on my computer and train it with my own data. So all that regulatory we just talked about, all that EU stuff, all Sam Altman going up to the Hill saying, hey, guys on the Hill, you got to regulate this. Exactly how are they coming into my house to regulate what I'm going to do with my own large language model with my own data? And I happen to train it with stuff I could have gotten off the internet that I wrote, or that was written about stuff that I'd done. I didn't write that stuff, actually. Someone else wrote it, but it doesn't matter. It's on my website. I have complete rights to use it, and it's publicly available, so there was nothing about that that's hidden. But I could have taken the entire corpus of the Palmer Group's order book. I could have taken our entire client directory. I could have taken our accounting directories, and I could have taken anything. I could have taken our code base for shellypalmer.com, and I could have put it in there just to be able to query the code base. This is not the final version of that tool in any way. But wow, what a mind-blowing proof of concept. If I was going to do a straight-up POC, I would consider that a big win. So, yeah, that's just, I mean, that's where my head is. Let's see, we got a bunch of questions here. Oh, here's a good question. What is a token for a large language model? Well, I think I covered it a second ago, Charles S., but it's a roughly 3 to 4 words in the English language is a token. Monica Corton, Alan Wagner was a gem. Miss him. Alan Wagner was a gem. He was an amazing gentleman who I miss a lot. I see his wonderful daughters all the time, and he is alive in their hearts and alive in mine too. Truly an amazing guy. So yeah, thank you for saying that. I want to move on now to I should give you this. If you are looking for these resources all laid out, please consider going over to shellypalmer.com/AI. Again, ton of free resources there. Everything is free. We will be putting up all of the information about the Git repos that we've been using there, and we'll also have them in the comments of this video. So in the description section, we'll have it there as well. But shellypalmer.com/AI is a really fun place to go to, and it has all kinds of case studies and reference documents, just stuff you can use for prompt crafting and what have you. All right, Bard came out this week. Pretty much generally, if you've got Google Workspace, you could have Bard running, and they're very, very proud of it. And they talked all about it at I/O 2023, and they were like, yeah, it's amazing. And of course, not to be undone, ChatGPT from OpenAI added some features this week to the general public that are pretty cool. So let's get into that right now. We have a benchmark we've been using on our show, and the benchmark we've been using is the list of dogs, right? We've done this whole thing where we, I just have to find it real quick, create a table of, I gotta get to my keyboard here so I can Control-C this. All right, we're going into ChatGPT. This is GPT-4 because we're going to say create a table of 5 most popular dogs. You've all seen this work. It's going to take a second, and it's going to make a table of the 5 most popular dogs, and it's going to be beautiful. We're going to ask it to cite its sources, and we're going to just let this cook, and it's going to go. It's just going for it. All right, that's how it's going to, Oh, ha! I'm using Link Reader. Wow, I totally forgot. This is amazing. I've got a plugin set up. This is not pure ChatGPT. This is using Link Reader, and what it's doing right now is it's going out to the internet to find this information, because this is one of the plugins that OpenAI added to ChatGPT Plus this week. You can go out, it will go out to the internet and find the information. So we're going to let this cook for a second. Not only is this going to give us the answer, it's going to give us the answer based on what the internet has to say, which is amazing because it's not limited to what happened in 2021. We'll let that cook for a second. Let's go to Bard, which also features internet access, and let's put in the exact same prompt. This is Google's Bard, bard.google.com, bard.google.com. Let's put in the same exact prompt. Create a table of 5 most popular family-friendly dogs. Here we go. Let's see what it does. It's thinking. I'm a text-based AI and can't assist with that. All right, you can't create a table. So let's change the word table to list, because obviously if you're text-based, a list shouldn't be a problem. So let's go ahead and say, create a list for me. All right, it's thinking. Now let's see if we get a list. I'm unable to help as I am only a language model and don't have the ability to process or understand that. All right, so you're stupider than GPT-4, so let's just take the first part since you can't chunk it out. How about if we just ask you to create a list of the 5 most popular family-friendly dogs? You should be able to find that. That's a Google search. Maybe go get their weight and stuff. Here's just the first part. Try that. I'm text-based and it's outside my capabilities. All right, I'm a little depressed about that, so let's see if you can do something like write a recommendation letter. So here's a prompt. This is a prompt you've seen before. The student variable is Jane Doe. The class variable is Advanced Media Business Management. The program variable is Generative AI and Media. That's the school is MIT, and the pronoun is she, her. And you're acting as Shelly Palmer, professor, and I'm recommending for that. Let's see if it can do it. Come on, Bard. All right, this it did perfectly. But this is a pretty simple thing, and it's writing a recommendation letter for a student, Jane Doe. I'm ready to recommend Jane Doe for the Generative AI and Media program at MIT. I had the pleasure of having Jane as a student in my Advanced Media Business Management course at the Newhouse School. Jane was an outstanding student in my class. She was always prepared, engaged, insightful, blah, blah, blah. That's good. In addition to her achievements, Jane also had the pleasure of class. I believe she'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, this could get tweaked, and it signed it me, so that's fun. Let's go back and see what, oh, wow. here we're going back to ChatGPT. Based on my research, here are the 5 most popular family-friendly dogs. So it's not putting it in a table. It's putting it in a really interesting list, which I didn't ask it to do. I asked it, I think we have to go back to the top. I think I asked it for a table. It started to research it. The difference between this and anything we've ever done before with this list is that this is based on current research, and they're giving you the URL it went to. I think this is actually a lot more useful than the table from 2021. It'd be interesting to compare and contrast whether it's the same dogs, but it tells you the answer to every question that we asked for. Now it's telling us how it achieved the pricing or the cost. It's making a recommendation based on the living situation, which we told it. And this is where to go and get. So this is so comprehensive by comparison to what it had done before. So I am super impressed with what GPT-4 is capable of. Oh wow! And a picture which we hadn't seen before. So this is the recommended New York City apartment dog. I guess, small apartment, small dog. There you go. I don't know. Bard did not do as well, unfortunately. So let's give it our third benchmark test, because I feel like for something to be really useful for a productivity enhancer, it's got to be able to do the following. So I'm going to start a new chat. I'm going to go to GPT-4, just the default version of it. By the way, the 3 plugins I have going on, right? You have browsing where it can go out to the internet, just so you see. This literally will just go out to the internet. You can ask it a question like, what are the top 5 stories about generative AI today? And it'll go out to the internet and find it. And then plugins. I've got 3 plugins activated right now. You can have up to 3 at a time. Prompt Perfect, which makes your prompts better. Link Reader, which is what I just accidentally used because I was not paying attention that we were in this area. And I have one other one, but I forget what it is that I have going at the moment. But let's go back to the default version real quick, and we're going to put in just so, if you guys remember, here are 3 CSV files. And I need them in one table, and I need them all done correctly. This first one is L _name, F _name, company title, email. The next CSV table is email, first name, last name, title, company. The next one is company title, first name, first, last, email. So that's a mess, right? And we want this as one table or one CSV file that we can just use, and it doesn't take very long to get this thing together. And so it's going to tell us that it's what it's going to do, and it combined them. And there it's just doing it. So now it's doing last name, first name, last name, title, company, which is what I was asking it to do from the mess. And it does it perfectly. And it will do it with whatever size file. If you've got the API, it does this all day long. Let's go to Bard. I'm going to reset the chat so we don't have to, it doesn't get confused with anything it's done before. We're going to put in the exact same prompt to Bard. Here are 3 CSV files. Here's the same exact everything. Let's see it work. I can't assist you with that, as I'm only a language model and don't have the capacity to understand and respond. From my perspective, Bard has a lot of things it can do, and I am excited for Bard. It's supposed to be able to go out to the internet because it's supposed to be able to, but it doesn't seem like it wants to. It's supposed to be able to give it surface images for us, but it hasn't done that either. So I'm a little bit unhappy with where Bard is and what it looks like and how it worked and all of that. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm feeling like, yeah, that's a giant fail. One of the things I wanted to show you today, let me see if I can just put ChatGPT back for a minute. Let's do that for you. I'm going to do a new chat, and we're going to use GPT-4 with browsing capability now. So this time I'm turning on browsing specifically so it can go look at the internet. I could also use plugins because I have the link plugin. In fact, I'll use plugins just for here. Now, I crafted a prompt that is, you're acting as the producer and showrunner for tech blogger Shelly Palmer's weekly podcast. As you know, he's a tech expert, because I am, and the professor of blah blah, and you're producing a news segment for the show. That's the show we're on right now. Please read the following text and create a bullet points Shelly can use as a reference about the subject. Be sure to include any quotes along with attributions, facts with cited sources, statistics with attribution. That'll help him accurately deliver the news on this show. Format the output with double spaces. Here's the link. And the article I want to use is this thing from The Verge. I just grabbed it out of Google News. Zoom will soon integrate Anthropic's chatbot across its platform. So let's go back to ChatGPT, and I'm going to just add the link here. So this is just a link to that Verge article. That's all we're doing. This is new, and it's really exciting as far as I'm concerned. So now it's using Link Reader, and I'm going to see if I can expand that for you. And that's what it's doing. That's what it did. And here it's instantly starting to summarize that article in a way that I can copy and paste and use as if my showrunner or a producer were to have put this together. Do you know what a time saver this is? You might, if you've ever tried to research and or synopsize something and put it into bullets for an on-air talent. I got to tell you, Zoom is partnering with Anthropic to integrate the company's AI assist. Integration will first, this is as good as it gets. The AI assistant named Claude was launched by Anthropic in March. Do you need more than this? You don't. If you're me, I certainly don't need more than this. Quote, partnering with Anthropic also furthers our commitment to providing customers with our federated approach to AI optimized, and here it is from Samita Hashim, who is the Zoom's chief product officer. It's like, okay, I'll bite. So this, and it gives you the source and the link right there, and you can copy it and paste it into the script, and you are done. So welcome to ChatGPT Plus's plugin called Link Reader, but you can also just use its web browsing capability to make this happen. It is insane. It's insane. So I think I said a few weeks ago that the moment that ChatGPT got HTTP access or internet access, what I wanted was a really great bottle of bourbon and good seats for the end of the world. So I'm not going to say anything different than that today. That's exactly what I want. I want a really expensive bottle of bourbon and good seats to the end of the world, because this is absolutely out of control. Now think about this used stacked. What do I mean by that? What if I were to stack the HTTP access, the internet access, with my private model and bring in the stuff I need topically and added it to my model, my private model, and then combined it with my internal data and used a large language model to give me the output I required? How would you use that in the real world? Well, let's say that I'm a media company and I want to go collect all the instances of the advertising that I've put out on the web, and I want to bring it back and combine it with my internal sales reports so I can go to my client and say, look how much money I made for you, and look at the ROAS, or look at the ROI on your ad campaign, or look how great we are in the number of impressions we were able to garner, earned and unearned media. So, or earned and paid, if you will. Craziness, right? So, that's one of 1,000 examples, to say nothing of how you would research stocks, travel, housing, things you need to do, whatever that might be, for good guys and for bad guys. This is pretty awesome in every way. We have a request for how you get your POAP. You get your POAP by going to shellypalmer.com/POAP, P-O-A-P. That's a proof of attendance protocol token. Again, you collect 5. You can do whatever. You can participate in whatever we put on, our live events and our online events that are private. We'll give you access to those. If you're interested in learning more about what I covered today, if you're interested in understanding PrivateGPT and autonomous agents, and you want to understand how GPT-4 can be used, how ChatGPT Plus can be used to increase productivity, you can go to courses.shellypalmer.com. It's all free. There's no advertising there. There's no hype there. There's simply information that will help you learn. I would also direct you to shellypalmer.com/AI, because there are a ton of free resources there that will help you learn to prompt craft or prompt engineer, case studies you can take back to your office or to your company or to your organization and show how you can use these various tools to increase productivity or just do some new and interesting stuff in your own organization. So I hope that you will avail yourself of that stuff. I think everybody here knows that this is my very favorite time of week. I am traveling next week, so I won't be able to do it. I'm going to be out at Patau, which is cool. I'm leading a session out there, and I'm very excited. A big shout out to Terry Kawaja and the Luma Digital Media Summit from yesterday. It was really a spectacular date. If you missed it, I know Terry's got some of that online. It's some great speakers, and it was really, really, really fun to be there. With that, I will again thank everybody. I try to answer all your questions when you send them via email, shelly@shellypalmer.com. Absolutely happy to answer whatever questions you have. We're pretty good about it. We don't use AI. I actually do it in person. So, please feel free. And with that, I'll just say to you, thank you so very much for being here today. I look forward to seeing you not next week, but the week after. Be safe and take care.